How
Yeah.
long did it take you to pay off your 30 plus $1,000 debt?
I definitely was under 2 years. I would say probably around 18 months. I
Mhm.
really want to get to the 12 months, but I didn't quite get there.
So you make the final payment. How did that feel? Do you remember that day when your spreadsheet's all balanced out to 0?
I do remember sending Erin a little dancey video of like, "Yeah, celebration." I think I was anticipating it coming up, so it wasn't as big of a like, bam. I was just like I was grinding it out, like, I was hyper focused on it. I had, like, all of the things to color and all of the check boxes, and it felt like, "Okay, move on, carry on, next challenge, next step."
Did you book our hotels for transformation weekend?
Yeah.
Are we sharing a room?
Nope.
You're lucky. That was a smart smart decision on your part. I mean, I know we won't share a room, but I know we'll be snuggled in the bed both together talking all night, but
Yeah, it's just for sleeping. I think that I did it more for you. I don't know what you're referencing, but my husband has told me that I'm snoring a lot these days.
are you?
Yeah, and you need to get a good night's sleep. Like you've got a lot of stuff to do at Transformation Weekend.
I don't sleep at transformation weekend. I actually only get a couple hours because I'm up thinking about
Yeah.
everything that happened and how I'm gonna like the next day adjust a few of the exercises in order to make the plane land for the person that needs the most help and all that kind of stuff. So
Yeah.
I don't really sleep for those days, but I don't really care. I'm like fueled by the passion of it all. But here's why you don't want to sleep with me.
Right.
I watched this video recently on the internet about this little kid sitting in the backseat of a car. And I guess the parents had heard that how you tell if a child is really asleep is if you lift up their arm and it stays in the air.
Yes.
So I watched this and I was like, I got to try this. And so now every morning when I go wake up the kids, my teenagers, fully grown, put their hands in really weird positions above their heads. And then I wake them up and they're all confused. Yesterday, I was able to pick up his foot and his whole leg was up in the air. And then I was like, good morning. And he was all like, just come on. It's so much fun.
Oh, I'm gonna try that. That's so fun. Did I ever tell you that my youngest, he talks in his sleep a lot, but last night he got up like at 11:30 PM. He'd already been in bed for well over an hour. He got up, like put his house coat on, opens the door, says something about breakfast, and then just goes and sits on the stairs.
What?
Like I came out of the bedroom. I'm like, hey, buddy, what are you doing? And he fully got out of bed, got ready, like he was gonna come downstairs and have breakfast, and then I guess must have started waking up or something and sat on the stairs. And I'm
That's
like, "Hey, it's
horrifying.
still sleepy time. It's still sleepy time." And what he was mad at me then, like, because I guess he didn't get to have cereal
I don't
at
know.
11.
But like, aren't you terrified at the thought of them navigating the stairs while they're asleep?
Yeah, no, I'm super terrified that he will go cut an apple or something if he's asleep. I don't want him handling a knife, but here's the thing. Like I am a mom and I have mom ears, right? Like I'm hearing all the things.
Yeah.
So he's not getting out of his room without me knowing or hearing something. But I I just think it's interesting that we were both doing things to our kids or they were doing things while they were sleeping.
I'm super excited today for you to talk to Pamie. Oh my gosh. In our Where Are They Now episodes, this one's going to be so interesting because Pamie's story, I mean, you're going to get into the depths of it, but Pamie's story is that she and I met 10 years ago or so when she came in to learn about money. And since then has created such passive income that she only works part-time and she's going to be retired by the age of 50. And she did all this entirely on her own. So I'm so excited for you to talk to her and learn more about her today.
You and Erin met. So why don't we start there? Tell me
Sure.
when you met her, how you met her, how did you come into this whole Get the Hell Out of Debt program?
So ironically, through another friend called Carrie, I worked with Carrie in healthcare, and she had posted something about Erin's Get the Hell Out of Debt, and I'd already done in my mind what I thought was get the hell out of debt a couple of times of like work a couple jobs, pay off my credit cards. And then Carrie had posted this and I was like, hey, I'm going to do this thing because I can't keep repeating this cycle.
Back then, how much debt were you in when you first started the program?
So yeah, I thought I had like 12 or 13 grand in credit card debt. And then one of the first things she had us do was to unearth all of her debt,
Mhm.
which was more of the tune of like 32. And like just that task of like literally finding it all, logging into every source that you possibly had outstanding and writing it all down. I was like, wow, wow, I'm in over my head.
That's what a lot of us do, I think, in the beginning, is that we don't pay attention to those numbers, and it's not until you sit down and actually put them all together. And I mean, that's a
Yeah.
great first step, right? That's really a good first step, but it's also scary to finally see that number in writing and know what you're dealing with.
Hmm. Yeah, it was devastating. I thought I was like, hey, I'm never going to work two jobs again. I'm going to just pound out this credit card, maybe learn a few tips. And then I was like, what? It's like triple what I thought it was.
Yeah,
Yeah.
gosh.
I think for me too, a big thing was like I didn't lump in having a car payment as like debt. I mean, I knew it was debt, but I didn't lump it into the category as like with my credit cards and my student loan and all the things that were like really heavy. It was a
Yeah.
big one.
What kind of stuff were you putting on them?
Most of it was just like being a student and living and stupid things. Probably a vacation or two that I was like, oh, I'm gonna go on vacation. Sure.
Yeah, right. That's exactly.
Yeah.
We don't have forethought at the time. It's just like, look at this free money
No.
over here.
Yeah. I mean, I didn't really have conversations about money beforehand. I didn't have anything in school. It's not something we really talked about as a family. So yeah, putting a vacation on a credit card felt normal.
Yeah. Okay, so you start the program, and what were sort of your first thoughts then as you were getting started?
Daunting, a bit crippling, but also it felt hopeful, like to have a plan and a strategy. I think for me, the one of the big switches was doing the emergency fund. I'd never had any kind of like safety net. That my credit card was my safety net. And like that was a real switch for me to be like, no, 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 like you're not gonna tackle this debt. You're not gonna do this. Like this is step one. Start here. This will be your emergency. It'll eliminate the need of the credit card. That was a big like shift for me in perception, I think.
What did you do to fill your quick and dirty?
I did a lot of like sell stuff you already have. I bought a piece of furniture to like paint and flip. I still own that piece of furniture. It's currently a change table. So that was a flip fail. I just painted it and it was so cute. I was like, I'm keeping this. It was only $10. But yeah, I did a lot of the like sell stuff you already have. And it's funny, like she says, when you start to like address your like money wounds or whatever, sometimes money shows up. And like that was my case. Money would just start showing up and I'd be like, hey, oh, now I know where you're gonna go. You're gonna go here.
So how
Yeah.
long did it take you to pay off your 30 plus $1,000 debt?
I definitely was under 2 years. I would say probably around 18 months. I really want to get to the 12 months, but I didn't quite get there.
So you make the final payment. How did that feel? Do you remember that day when your spreadsheet's all balanced out to zero?
I do remember sending Erin a little dancey video of like, yeah, celebration. I think I was anticipating it coming up, so it wasn't as big of a like bam. I was just like, I was grinding it out. Like I was hyper focused on it. I had like all of the things to color and all of the check boxes, and it felt like, okay, move on, carry on, next challenge, next step.
Do you want more? I know you do. Why wouldn't you want more?
Or
Of
what? What do I
more
want more of?
more of this. Come hang out in the online course, Forget the Hell Out of Debt. The link is in the description. You just got to click it, sign up, and we'll see you in there.
So when people get to phase 3, some of the stuff that we're hearing is that people don't know what to do when they get out of debt. Like they're now at a zero balance and they don't have credit cards or anything that they have to pay off anymore. Now they get to start building wealth, but they get stuck because it's something new. Did you feel that too when you got to that phase?
I mean, a little bit, but I definitely knew that I didn't want to be working full time. So my next phase in wealth building was to make some passive income. So I got out of debt and I probably within 6 months, I stopped working full time. I started working part time and then an opportunity came up to start Airbnb some properties in Calgary. So I did that. I think that's since 2017, I want to say.
We got to get into this because this is where Erin talks about you all the time. Is that this passive income and this Airbnb, I feel like you and Erin were some of the first in the city to really get on this. I know Erin was for sure. And then I know she got so busy that she brought you into the fold and was like, Pamie, you need to help out with this, or you take this. Tell me how that happened. What were
Yes.
some of those first properties like? What happened?
So I still have some of those first properties. I now have 9 properties. And Yeah, Erin was a big help in this jump. So she was really gracious and did a lot of hand holding and showing. And then she was like, okay, girl, fly. Like 6 years later, I think I started with 2 and then I bumped up to 5 and then I had 7. Now I have 9. It was so fun to set them up. Like setting them up is my jam. Like I love decorating them and like going at that time we were like super frugal and trying to source all of our stuff either free or next to nothing. And so like that was my next target. Like how cheap can I get the things? Like where can I outsource to friends giving away stuff? Yeah, it was super fun.
What did you learn about putting them on Airbnb? What are some of your tips and tricks now that you're an expert at it?
You can't be too attached to them.
Mm.
I remember having a coworker approach me one time about renting out one of her spaces, and she was quite attached to a lot of the art and like specific things. And I was like, I don't think this sounds like the right avenue for you. Maybe a long-term tenant or someone that you can have a little more trust in. I have had a few hiccups or issues, but like nothing that I haven't been able to handle.
Okay, so you still have 9 properties, right? Does that mean that you're on Airbnb like every day?
Yeah, I'm on every day. It's much like texting a friend or whatnot. Like my phone is always with me. Like I go on vacation, I'm still Airbnbing. The only time that I've not done it or had somebody else kind of manage it for me is when I'm like specific. I know I'm not going to have great reception or like, I really want to not be on my phone for this portion of my vacation.
How often are you physically going to your properties?
Probably once a month.
Yeah, just to check in.
I go to restock or like replace things that are broken or sometimes more frequently if there's like some sinks backed up or whatever. But
And are they
yeah,
typically
I have.
busy? Like, are you booked throughout the year now?
Mhm,
Wow.
I am. I usually have like a 8-week to 12-week lead. The pandemic was actually really good for me.
Hmm.
It was slow in the beginning, and then when a bit of travel started opening up for like people immigrating or refugees, we had a lot of long-term stays or like people would come and isolate.
Okay, now talk to me actually about the money part of this thing because I'm super interested
Mhm.
in this. Do you own these places and you have mortgages that you're paying on them? Tell me how that works and how do you price things so that you're making sure you're making money?
So I don't own them. I rent them and sublet them with the approval of the landlord. I think people call it rental arbitrage, but you could very well own them and rent them on Airbnb if your condo board would allow you. Finding the right balance is a little bit trickier because the summer months are crazy busy in Calgary. We have the Stampede, and that's like the summer is my breadwinner, and then the winter is a little bit, there's some months where one unit maybe is not cash flowing, but I think it works out for me because I have 9 of them. It's like a built-in buffer. So there could be slower months, but the whole year is cash flowing.
Yeah. I mean, Erin talks about this passive income all the time and that this is like the key to wealth is passive income. So what part of this was something that appealed to you? Like, why did you know this was what you were going to be good at?
I love the idea of passive income. It is definitely not my money block. Yeah, I'm always like looking for ways to make passive income. Everything that presents it, I'm like, can I make money on that?
So you, in the last couple of years, had lots of big life changes. Like you're a mama now to a little one.
Yeah,
How did that change life for you?
in every way. It's one of those things that like until you have a kid, you don't know. Like I have an idea of what I thought my life would be like and how I'd be as mom, and then you have a kid, and you're like, well, that was hilarious.
Yep.
Yeah. God or the universe is like, I'm here to humble you, so check wisely. No, it's good. Like I absolutely love her, but I feel like this season of my life is rest and like I'm just focusing on her, on our family, on doing the things that I have on my plate now. Like I don't feel like I'm at a place really that I can take on more on my plate. But yes, I know that it's a season and she'll get more independent and I'll have more flexibility. Yeah.
What do you plan to teach her about money?
I definitely plan to teach her to do the like, we save some, we spend some. Erin's little course on how to teach kids about money, all over that. I remember a couple years ago, I took my nephews, they were probably like 10 and 12 at the time. I took them to New Brunswick for the summer and I gave them each $100 kind of as a like a experiment to see. I already suspected what I thought they would used to do with it, but I was like, here's your money for the summer. You can spend this on you however you want. This is your spending money. I'm pretty sure the youngest had it spent in like 72 hours,
Uh-huh.
and the oldest went home with, I think, 80% of it. So fun to watch.
But it goes to show just how different every person,
Mhm.
kids, adults, everybody, how we all handle money. It's so different and it's fascinating.
Absolutely.
Your husband and you, do you have naked money meetings to talk about your money?
We have occasional naked money meetings, probably twice a year, I would say we get into the money.
Uh-huh.
But yeah, it's been really different working part-time and then being on a mat leave. I will say I was really proud of myself before my mat leave of, like, saving a crap ton of money to supplement myself, knowing that I wanted to take the extended leave and knowing that it was gonna be peanuts. I was like, it was really important for me to be off for that amount of time, so I just squirreled away my money and was like, "Yes."
Hmm. But what about like retirement? Do you have a goal in mind for when that is and what you plan to do?
I don't. I've always said I wanted to be retired by 50, so that's like a 10-year plan.
Mhm.
But kind of in the back of my mind has always been to purchase properties over the next whatever 1 to 5 years, keep purchasing, and then at 60 or 65 have those be my retirement plan.
Are you gonna travel? Do you want to have a million grandbabies? What do you think retirement looks like?
Freedom, which
Yeah.
is kind of like, it's weird. I feel like just this flexibility of only working part-time, it kind of feels like I'm already retired, which sounds crazy, but I feel like I have the freedom that is what I want in retirement. I feel like I have that already. So, like, we joke in the office about what our number is to win the lottery to not show up to work. My one coworker has said her number is like 8 million. I was like, I'll take 1 million and I'm out. Like, that's fine.
Yeah,
I
because you
don't
know
need
what to
much.
do
I
with
just
it.
want the freedom.
Yeah, you know what to do with it though too. When you get the million, you would know exactly what to do with it. Well, I think that you're on your way there for sure. The fact that you found Erin through this other friend, what has
Mhm.
made Erin and been being part of, Get the Hell Out of Debt and the other programs and stuff that she's run, what does that mean to you being part of that?
So, ironically, I sent Erin a text the other day that was like, "I'm so glad that you are not a cult leader and that you are an empowerment leader," because I watched a documentary on cults and I was like, when I started Get the Hell Out of Debt, I was like drinking all of the Kool-Aid all of the time. I was so hyper focused. Anything Erin was offering, I signed up for. I was in it. And I was like, I'm so glad you're a good person.
So right, it could have gone the other way so easily. We totally drink her Kool-Aid because she is amazing. What she teaches is so great, and how she teaches it is so great. What does
Mhm.
she personally mean to you and how she's helped you get to where you're at?
I personally think she's 100% changed my life. I don't know that I would have any of the things that I have or be where I am if I didn't have her guiding principles and like her knowledge that she shared. I 100% believe I would be in a different spot.
Yeah. So you said that you did all the things that she offered. Did you go to Transformation Weekend?
I did. They're also incredible to experience and watch other people transform while you're transforming. And it's so powerful that you're like, you need a couple days to take it in and like absorb. They're amazing. Anyone should go if they have the opportunity.
What is
Yeah.
your advice if someone's listening to this and they are in debt right now? What is your advice to them as they're getting started?
I think just commit to yourself and to the process. My success came from being committed to the process. So just stick to the process. She has so many individuals and couples that have gone through it and have done the steps and have success. And like it shows up in ways that you just aren't expecting having done the steps. Like, yeah, I think sticking to the process is really important.
Yeah, you've built the money muscles, right? Erin talks
That's
about that all
right.
the time. There is a reason, people, that she tells us to do things in the order that we're supposed to do them. And as much as we would like to think that the rules don't apply to us, they actually do, which is a bummer and also the best way to move forward.
Yeah, and I think that's like people go into it with a goal of like, hey, like I need to get through this debt. But the lessons that you'll learn and the stuff you'll take with you, so you'll get out of your debt, but you'll like radically change your relationship with money. Like people will.
Okay, wait, you have to explain rental arbitrage to me because I should have got her to explain that, but she was telling me so many juicy tidbits about Airbnb. I don't know what that is.
Okay, let me walk you through what I did with Pamie so that you or anybody can replicate to get the same results.
Yes, please.
So she finishes paying off her debt. She's in phase 3. We had a group of women in phase 3 who actually were in my hometown. And I was extremely busy with the explosion of Airbnb at the time. I was an Airbnb host educator. This was before Airbnb is what it is now.
Mm-hmm.
It was a new, fresh thing. And it was what the industry needed at the time. And I had a bunch of rental units that I was converting to Airbnbs because I was seeing a better return on my investment. So I was making 3 times as much each month converting long-term rentals to Airbnbs. So I did that. Now, this was before we had a housing shortage. So this is not my strategy today, but it is a strategy for cash flow that people can do if they're in an area where there's a high demand for Airbnb and there's enough rental inventory. We don't want to necessarily take away from the existing rental inventory because we want people to have affordable housing, but it's not your responsibility to provide housing. It's your responsibility to make a bit of cash flow when you have an investment. So at the time, I was also hearing from a lot of landlords because in that season of life, the vacancy rate in my city was really high, which means that we had more available inventory than we had tenants. So landlords were coming to me going, how are you full? How are you not vacant right now? What are you doing? And so I was like, well, I'm doing this other strategy where I'm converting them to Airbnbs, which basically means I'm furnishing my rentals now and providing toilet paper and coffee pods and all the things you would want in a hotel, but just with a little more space. Got it. Here's the plan. I will rent your unit from you, thereby taking away your issue with having a vacant place. I'm going to rent it from you. I'm now your tenant.
Mm-hmm.
But you need to sign something that says I'm allowed to sublease. And I'm going to put it on Airbnb. Now I'm going to take on all of the risk. I'm going to furnish it. I'm going to deal with any fallout. If there's something chips or something cracks or whatever, I will pay that. I'll handle that for you. All you got to do is give me the keys and the space and I'll figure it out. And I put a lockbox on and I do all the things that needed to be done. So I was having a lot of landlords that were doing this and I was making a lot of money at the time. And so I was looking for more rentals. I was like calling up other landlords being like, hey, will you? And I'd call 100 of them and 99 would say no. But every now and then I'd get one. And I ran into this guy who had an apartment building, bigger apartment building than anything I owned, had 30 some units in it. And I was like, he's 50% vacant. And I'm like, I got a solution for you. He was not too keen on it in the beginning. Older gentleman, just a little set in the ways of how things ought to be done, couldn't wrap his head around this Airbnb idea, couldn't really even use an iPhone. And I was trying to explain to him how it was going to go. So I enrolled these women, just a bunch of the different women that had graduated the program and were looking for ways to create cash flow. And I was basically trying to show them, look, here's a way that you can actually create cash flow in real estate without owning the real estate. So we would rent these units for about $1,000 each. And on Airbnb, we'd make a couple $1,000s a month. After all expenses, we still had between $500 and $1,000 in our pockets. That was what we would net out. That's the money we would get to keep after taxes, after toilet paper, after utilities, all of the things. So now imagine these women, they've just completed phase 3. They don't have real estate. They don't have assets. They don't have anything yet. And rather than buying a rental property, which would require them to put about $60,000 down or so. Now they don't have to put $60,000 down. They have to put $2,000 down. They have to put first month's rent and a damage deposit down, right? Or security deposit. So now how many units can you get? If you had, let's say, $60,000 sitting there, right? You can get 30 units for that amount. Now you don't own it. So there is, you don't have the equity being built, but you have the cash flow, which most investors will tell you is more important than the equity. So it allowed these women to start out with almost nothing. If they could scrape together $1,000 or $2,000, they could get started. And then the other challenge I gave them, and Pamie alluded to this, is I said, we got to furnish these. So we got to come up with the money to furnish these, but we're going to get really resourceful.
Mm-hmm.
I know based on the work that I've done that I can furnish one for $600 or less. I'm talking bed, nightstands, couch, all the things. So we're going to try, if it's a 1-bedroom, we're going to try and furnish it for $600. And if it's a 2-bedroom apartment, we're going to furnish it for $1,200 or less. That's your challenge. So these girls went out. We were all over Facebook Marketplace. We were on Craigslist and Kijiji and Wamini and Swahili. We were on all the things, being like, anything people would leave out on the curb, we'd drive by and we'd fix it up, or we'd like make it more attractive, or we would, go to a garage sale and get dishes and all the things. And we made them cute. That was the other criteria, is we can't just put junk in these units. We got to make them cute. And Pamie was outstanding at that. I mean, Pamie could make anything look adorable. I'll pull some pictures and stuff and maybe put them on Instagram so people can see what some of her units look like. But she would like paint the art for the walls herself.
Wow.
In one of her units, she has the rocking chair that I rocked my babies in. It's like, here, you can have this. It's kind of broken on the bottom, which just needs a couple of screws. She was just really, really resourceful. And so we furnished these things for $600 or less. And then the idea is, as you create more cash flow, now you can replace those used things with newer, nicer things. And now you can donate those things to someone else. So she did a really great job of upcycling. She did a really great job of being resourceful. But now imagine you have 9 units. And on average, like I'm talking your worst, hardest months, you're earning only $500 to $1,000 a month. How much cash flow does that generate?
That's amazing.
But when I was doing it at the, extreme that she's doing it, there's at minimum, I had to make $500 a month on each unit or I wasn't going to do it. And some months I was making thousands. And so I just think it's important for people to understand you don't have to buy real estate to make money at real estate. And that same principle, it doesn't have to be Airbnb or VRBO, or it doesn't have to be real estate. It can be something else. Maybe you have 6 bicycles that you're renting for $40 a day. You live by the beach, or you live by a river path, or you live by something. And now you can rent those out for $100 a day. That's cash flow. Or maybe it's not bicycles. Maybe it's your vehicle on Turo or one of those other sites, right? Your lease on your vehicle is $600 a month, let's say, but you can make $300 a day renting it out. That was absurd amount of money. That's probably not even, I just feel like all cars are very expensive right now, but you know what I mean? As long as you're putting out less than you're getting in, you're creating cash flow. So arbitrage can be, rental arbitrage doesn't have to necessarily be rental properties. It can be anything, but we have to get it out of our head as you're building that you've got to save up all this money to buy one property that's going to cash flow to build that equity, when in fact, she could have been investing all of that cash flow all this time and making her millions and not worried about owning the property. Obviously, that's even better, but if not, you don't need to in order to make cash.
I love that there's other ways around this, because I just assumed that she had purchased all of these. I love that there's another option. What a brilliant way to not own the property. Now, how long do you hold on to it if it's not cash flowing?
So I personally would not hold on to it. If 3 months out of 12, it wasn't cash flowing, I would get rid of it.
Like Pamie said too, you can't be emotionally invested in it, right? You've got to just drop it like it's hot if it's not making you money.
Yeah, I had to teach the girls that quite quickly, because one of the units we were taking over, there had been a gentleman who was a smoker.
Ew.
And it was offensive. You know what I mean? Well, I can't believe somebody would smoke in here, whatever. And I was like, well, I guess we're renting this one to smokers. Like, that's it. That's the solution, right? Or this one smells like cat. Well, this one's pet friendly. Like, off we go, right? Like, we can't turn our emotions or our morality into the numbers. We can't have a set way that it must be. We can't try and control it. We have to be open to the flow of money in and out of our lives. And that's just, we're kind of directing it. We're not controlling it. We're just slightly directing it, right? We're like, oh, we just want to move it a little bit this way. So here's some parameters. But as soon as you try and control it, you stop the flow of money into your life.
How proud of Pamie are you?
Oh, I'm proud of Pamie. I'm proud of everybody. But one of the coolest parts about Pamie is she was quite young when I met her. I'm an old person. I'm an old soul, but she's
so old. Hey, we're the same age. Be careful.
She's felt like a sister in so many ways, because I got to watch her leave this sort of student life behind and grow into kind of womanhood. That sounds really weird. Don't you hear people say like she became a woman? It's like, that sounds weird. Sorry, Pamie, it's not what I meant. But she got married and paid cash for her wedding. And navigated difficult conversations with her husband about money, and then was really looking ahead. One of the best parts about Pamie is she knew she wanted to be a mom, and she knew the kind of mom she wanted to be, and she knew that meant she didn't want to work full time. So the whole time she was pregnant, she was refining and honing her real estate skills in order to maximize the cash flow and saving up as much as possible. Because, I mean, she was just talking about mat leave casually, but she's Canadian. And what people listening need to know is that mat leave is 18 months. She was on mat leave for 18. Most people get 6 weeks. So she was able to sustain her mat leave for 18 months in order to be home with her daughter, which was really important to her. So I'm really proud of Pamie, but I'm really proud of anybody that steps into Transformation Weekend. I'm really proud of anybody that steps in to get the hell out of debt, because what they're really doing is saying, I am about to get so uncomfortable with who I've been and what's been comfortable in order to have a better future and a better year and a better life ultimately. Yes, I'm proud of who Pamie is today, but I'm really proud of the Pamie that 10 years ago was like, I don't want to live this way anymore.